It is Friday, May 30th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. This is Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You. And we have a treat for you guys today. Matt Ford is away in Las Vegas, and we're not going to bother him. According to the text message he sent, he'll be not reachable for the next couple of days, enjoying himself in Vegas. So we have Gabe Goodwin back on the show. It's been a long time. I did see you last week in Los Angeles. Thank you for lunch. I appreciate it. Gabe came strolling in there, by the way. I was like, guys, I am hungry. And then proceeded to eat more than Matt or me combined, maybe. Yes. We will talk football. It is sort of the not the dead period, but right sort of the end of offseason workouts, OTAs happening, little mini camp stuff. We're getting some oddities from the media about reps for certain players. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We will touch on basketball as we did last episode. Gabe is a Knicks fan. It's the one sport I think he's willing to talk about at the moment. Football,
Yes.
his football team, absolutely not. His baseball team. You're Mets. Are you Mets guy too?
Yeah.
They're fine. They're 34 and 22. I think I just saw they're playing the 7-win Rockies starting tonight. That'll be hopefully a three game series sweep for the Mets. No Juan Soto. No Juan Soto talk for you today.
Well, he's not off to a great start, but that's happened before. No, listen, they took the Dodgers series last week. I will be out at Dodger Stadium next week when the Mets come to town.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm not really a diehard until it's about September.
Okay.
Just like I wasn't a diehard Knicks fan until about the Detroit series. But that's okay. That kind of fan is welcome everywhere.
It is fine. Fandom. We should not. One thing I don't like that we do on social media is we tell people how to be fans. Like it's okay to be a fan however you want to be a fan. Do you think I watch Oregon baseball all season? No, I'm going to watch them tonight when they open up the regional. Same with Oregon softball in the College World Series. I didn't watch a look of it till 2 weeks ago. Now I'm the biggest Oregon softball fan there ever was. That's fandom. It's okay to weave in and out as we go. Only 14 years left of Juan Soto though. So hopefully the next 14 years you guys can figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, he and Bobby Bo's contract end around the same time. Uh, no, listen, I think the only job of a bandwagon, fair weather, casual turn diehard, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call a person like myself, the only job we have, we should not be given crap for anything as long as we respect the people who do put in the time. Like, I don't get to act like I'm the same as the guy who's watching every single night. He's
Right.
different than me, but I get to have a good time of the game without getting grief from him. Like, that's all.
That's a fair trade-off, right? That's an absolute fair trade-off where you get to enjoy your way, the diehard get to enjoy his way. There is a little gatekeeping on some sports when it comes to that, but there's no gatekeeping here when
No.
it comes to the NFL. Yeah, not much happening. There is, by the way, a trade that just happened. I'll just mention it because it just happened. I don't think it matters very much, but the Niners are trading for Eagles defensive end Bryce Huff, who they got from the Jets, I believe, in a trade, which I don't think worked for anybody. Niners just trying to find pass rush, and he's back with Robert Saleh, so which is head coach. But he was about to make 17 million guaranteed in Philly this season. I think they split the salary in half basically now that he's being traded to the 49ers. So just a tiny bit of NFL breaking news as we get started here, Gabe. You, Jets fan, Bryce Huff, any scouting report you got on Bryce Huff for us?
I have none, but I do think that Robert Sala as a coordinator is one of those, like, we'll be talking about that in January kind of things. Like, that's going to be a storyline of a playoff game. Is like, man, this guy could have been one of the next big head coaches in the league, and they got him over here coaching up D. Like, I think that will be a difference making move. It wasn't obviously
Yeah.
what he wanted, but, he's qualified. He just had a bunch of garbage on the field for him.
Yes, and I do think that um, Robert Saleh will be one of those guys who gets another head coaching job
Absolutely.
by saying, "Hey, the Jets are a disaster. No one can win in New York." It wasn't Adam Gase thing, right? That's basically what it was. Like they were like, hey, "You just can't win in New York. We'll go somewhere else and win with a better quarterback and better situation." We will talk about the Jets' former quarterback, unfortunately. But where do you want to start, Gabe? Do you want to start with the Jets' former quarterback? You want to
Yeah.
start with some Browns quarterback talk?
Could it be the same? Could the
It
could the
could.
former Jets quarterback and the future Browns quarterback conversation overlap? Probably not, right? But no, let's talk Rodgers because I can tell you this, Jeff.
Yeah.
I listened to another Not the first time I've done this to myself. Another 3 hours of Aaron Rodgers with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Looking for the truth, man. I'm out there
Something.
seeking.
Yeah.
I did not get a lot of that, and I got zero football insight. In the 3 hour conversation, I don't think he said or even hinted in the direction of anything to do with football or his future in football. Found a way to talk about almost every other topic in the world, but not football, the one thing I really would like to get his take on. So I think the latest reporting seems to be that the Steelers are the place, but yeah, I think you have feelings on that. Where are we?
Yeah. Okay. So before we get to that, it's a 3 hour podcast. Are we listening on 1.5 speed?
Oh,
Is it in the, okay. So, but in the
honest,
car,
I dialed it up even to 1.75.
So like in the car back and forth between the house and work, is that like,
I think
are the earbuds in like,
yeah. It was a run in a car drive and like a walk to the store. And to be honest, I think I was probably writing some texts or emails. Like there's parts of it that were super interesting. Other parts you really nobody needed to hear.
What was the most interesting part? Was there anything that stood out?
Honestly, what was most interesting is how much Aaron Rodgers appears to really want to do that. Like, I don't know if he would describe it this way, but he seemed to be showing Joe Rogan, hey, I can do this too. Like, I could sit up here and just sort of talk. And I'll be honest, it showed, for all the critiques there are of Joe Rogan, I'm not here to litigate that. Joe Rogan is good at what Joe Rogan does. If you like his show, he's great at doing that show. It looked like Aaron Rodgers was trying to show him, hey, I can do that too. And he's not at that level, in my opinion. He's just not.
But when he retires eventually, he will certainly get a podcasting job. It just won't be, obviously, Joe Rogan's job.
I assume so, but I think he should then, like, yeah, I mean, no one's boxing him in. He doesn't have to talk football all the time. He is a smart person who obviously reads a lot. I just think he should weave in some of the things he knows a lot about, like football.
I'm surprised for 3 hours that never came up. And that leads to sort of what I think is what Rodgers is thinking. And I'll tell you what other people are saying. So to me, I've said this for a while now. If he wanted to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, he already would be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Like, what are you waiting for, right? You missed the entire offseason now. Whenever you show up, you're going to be behind the rest of your teammates in learning the playbook. There's not a lot of training camp anymore. It's hard to catch up, all those things, right? Like, guys that want to play right now are mostly in the building. So there are some backup quarterbacks that haven't found a home yet, but Rodgers not a backup. He's a starting quarterback, right? And you need to get in right away, beat your teammates, and be involved. The pushback, and I heard this today on the radio. I was listening to another podcast, and someone insider was talking about it, was that the Steelers and Rodgers have an understanding that he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but there's something personal in his life he has to take care of now that prevents him from being a Pittsburgh Steeler. And okay, so there's many ways that goes, right? Like what could it be? We could think of the worst things that happen, right? A family member's ill, right? Certainly would be unfortunate, and a friend is ill, like, or there's maybe other things he's working on, side projects or whatnot, or something with his body. I don't know what it is, okay? But I'll just say this. The rest of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL are in OTAs right now, right? Everyone else is there. Everyone else has personal problems, Gabe. Aaron Rodgers is not the only player who has personal problems, right? And personal things to deal with. They're all there. It's 4 to 6 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week. That's it. And everyone else is there, except Aaron Rodgers. I remember last year for mandatory minicamp, everyone was there, except Aaron Rodgers. It was excused absence. Okay, but everyone else was there, except you. You keep doing things different than everyone else. That to me is like, I get it. We all have personal issues, and maybe, Gabe, it'll come out that unfortunately a family member is sick. I'll look like a jackass for saying all this. I totally accept that responsibility if that happens. But again, you have time for 3 hours on a Joe Rogan podcast. You can't convince me you don't have 4 hours to be in a facility 3 times a week. So whether or not they have this worked out, I don't know. People believe they do. But again, if you really were committed to the football, you would be in the building right now. It's that simple. And I don't think he's committed to that, but Pittsburgh's in a bind because they don't have a quarterback. They have no one to say, okay, well, screw you, Rodgers. We're going to go get someone else, or we're going to play who's ever on our roster. Rodgers has to leverage in this spot, which is unlike Pittsburgh. It's why, what did Terry Bradshaw say the other day? I don't know if he said something
I saw
like he's a bum or something.
That's not what I saw. What I
What
saw
was
was
it?
he should stay in California and go chew bark.
He did say that, but he also he was no, a joke. He called him a joke. He's what he said. That's a joke. This to me, that is just to me a joke. In a radio interview with 1037 The Buzz in Arkansas. I love local radio
That's how you get
names
the word out.
like the 1035 The Moose. Um, what are you gonna do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? The guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there. So um,
That might be
he
what
also
the
said,
personal issue is. Maybe
yeah.
he's got to go somewhere and chew on some bark.
Bradshaw did say that Kenny Pickett, he liked Kenny Pickett, so that's also questionable. So,
All right.
um, I look, I'm sensitive to the idea that players have personal things to deal with, right? We're humans, but again, I look around and I say, well, everyone else is in the building, any building, and you're not. You're not committed to this. And if the Steelers do sign him, are you getting 100% of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I think to build on what you're saying, Geoff, you were a player. You think like many players think in this league. Even if he has a very good excuse, there are going to be people just like you where the optics are a little off. Now he shows up and there's a little bit of skepticism. There's a little bit of like, so you think you're different than me, huh? Which was the problem in New York, which had become the problem in Green Bay. If he really does want to go to Pittsburgh because he thinks he has a chance at another ring there, which presumably that's why he would want to go there, right? They're just
Correct.
an above average quarterback away from being a real contender. Then wouldn't you want to contend? I mean, I don't follow why you'd want to go in and immediately have the whole locker room be like, guess we're glad he's here, but I'm not sure.
Correct. I'm agreeing with you. You're trying to sell this idea that that you are, this savior of the organization, I guess. You can help them win a Super Bowl, and then you're not there to do the things that everyone else is doing to get ready to play that season. And look, if he shows up in training camp, he might start fast, but probably not. I mean,
Right.
again, he's not played with Arthur Smith before, not to my knowledge. Not played this offense before. He played in Green Bay, which is a very specific offense that McCarthy had, and then he played in the Shanahan McVay tree, right, with LaFleur, and then in with the same offense in New York. I mean, so you have a different offense. You have young offensive linemen there in Pittsburgh as well that are good, but need to work with you. You have wide receivers you haven't worked with before. And if you're serious about being in there, then the seriousness would be getting, doing this job to the best of your ability. And I just don't think he's serious about that. And if he wants to be a podcaster, it's fine. Plenty of players do podcasts. That's not a big deal anymore. That's normal for players now to do other things. They're also in the building, Gabe. They're also
Yeah.
in the building. And I saw the one other thing I saw, or excuse me, I listened to was that he didn't want to sign with the Steelers and then be away for personal reasons to then have us talk about it like we talked about him missing
Right, sure.
camp last year. But again, if you are strong enough in your conviction to be a starting quarterback, you deal with that noise, right? And for someone who very much dissects the media, he cares an awful lot what the media says about him, and that's always fun, right? When someone says, "I don't care about this," but you deeply do care. So, look, I think he probably is a Pittsburgh Steeler at some point this year, but when?
Yeah. Well, can I broaden this then and just say, okay, let's say he is. Let's say he gets there and he looks good. The team embraces him. He gives it the kind of effort we used to see from him at MVP level. He
Yeah,
probably doesn't have MVP left in his tank, but above average looks like it's still possible if he gives it the effort.
I think so.
Okay, so let's give him, top 15 quarterback in the league on a already very good roster with a Hall of Fame coach. What's the ceiling for the Steelers, though? I mean, I don't know how anyone thinks they get through the AFC this year. So I don't even know why he'd want to
No.
go to an AFC team.
Well, this is what I've kind of said for a while now with Pittsburgh. It's like I don't know what the end game is for the Steelers because they're just not going to win what they want to win this year. And I know they think that maybe adding Aaron Rodgers gets them to where they want to be. But look, the Steelers are in the position that I think is the worst to be in sports, Gabe,
Hmm.
which is good enough to sort of make the postseason, not good enough to win a championship, and not bad enough to rebuild.
Right.
And you have to decide at some point to do one of two things. We're going to go for it, which is really hard to do, or we're going to pull back and be bad and rebuild this thing. And you look at the age of some of their better players on defense, especially. They're getting up in age a little bit. Offensively, they're young in offensive line. They're young at running back. Like there's some talent there to be had. Let's talk about them trading for Jonnu Smith from Miami, which I mean didn't play quarterback, but maybe they need a third tight end. So like there's some talent there. It's just you got to decide one way or the other. And I get being this pseudo playoff team every year and then losing the first round. I mean, there's an appeal to that as a franchise, right? We're always going to be competitive. We're always going to be in it. Our fans are going to be engaged. We could sell that we're a playoff team each and every year. Those are all positives for your fan base. I get it. But just logically speaking, right where they're at, drafting 20th every year, Gabe, doesn't get them any closer to what the Steelers should expect every year, which is they're a Super Bowl. They've won 6 Super Bowls. Like they're a franchise that expects to win Super Bowls every year, and they're just not doing necessary things. Now, I will say this: next draft, the one coming up in 2026, we'll have like 15 guys in the first round. I mean, it's such a quarterback heavy draft, and that might not even include Arch Manning, who people say might not even come out. Like it's a huge quarterback draft. So maybe next year is the year, Gabe, where they go for it. They say okay, like we're go. I don't know. Let's talk about go for it with the quarterback in that situation.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but look, man, just from practical standpoint, you can't be in the rebuild mode with Mike Tomlin as your coach, because one way or the other, that guy's going to get you to 500. We know this. He's done it with every single roster, with no matter who the competition in his division is. He always gets his way all the way back to 500. So, and he ain't quitting. So, if you have Mike Tomlin and you're on the fence like you're describing, your only option is go for it, because you can't be bad enough. That's just how it is, especially with, the way they develop defensive players. They can never go all the way into the top 5 naturally. So they have to go for all of it, which means you need not only help, but you're going to have to go through some combination of the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. You're going to get at least one of them along the way. And then you got other problems out there, the Texans. Well, I mean, depending on what the Dolphins put out there, the Dolphins certainly in your own division, the Bengals. Let's not forget about my Chargers. Like the AFC is stacked. Denver doesn't suck anymore. Like, I just don't. I don't see what a quarterback can do right now unless you have one of those top 5 guys.
No, you have to. And the Steelers have always prided themselves on the idea that like we're going to play defense, run the football, and those are the tenets that help you win the postseason. They absolutely do. Look at the Eagles, right? But then you have to have that dynamic quarterback piece, right? Like that has to be a part of. I mean, look who wins championships. Tom Brady was not obviously physically dynamic with his legs, but dude was a great passer of the football. Like you have to have that as quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't think is that guy right now. You know, Ken, to your point, can he still be an above average guy? I think possibly that's if it goes perfectly well. And then again, you're losing in the wild card round on the road to a division winner. You're in the same spot that you've been in.
Yeah, I saw a good joke. I'm going to butcher it, but it was something to the effect of, I can already see the Steelers as an 8-point dog on the road and on the Saturday game in January.
Like, oh yeah, I saw that same tweet. Yeah, I saw that same tweet. Like that's what they're going to be, because that's what they've sort of always. It's what they've been for, not always, but the last 8 years. Like they've been in that situation. They've won a playoff game since 2016.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a hard spot to be when you lose the franchise quarterback, but still have the coach and the culture and a bunch of playmakers. Can we shift gears to college football for a few?
Please, yes.
Because we're talking playoffs. I got to be honest, man. My head's been in basketball. My head's been in coaching Little League baseball. My head's been in reading the front page of some newspapers, trying to keep track of what's going on in the world. My head has not been deep in college football. And I swipe past a lot of posts. the SEC is causing some sort of a problem with this, that, and the other. And then we're going to have this many teams, but these are the way we're going to do the rankings. And man, I've lost track. What is today's controversy around the college
Yeah.
football playoff, and who's pissed about what?
Yeah. This is one of those stories where this is a crude comment, but my offensive line coach, one of them, used to say, like, don't tell me about the pain, just show me the baby. Right. It's obviously crude, but like the idea of like, I don't want to hear it, just like get me results on the field, right?
Yeah.
And this is what the playoff is at right now, where it's at 12, right?
Yeah.
And all we're hearing from everyone, mostly SEC this week, because they had spring meetings and they're just complaining and whining nonstop about the system. It's all because
Nonstop.
Alabama is a 3-loss team, did get in the postseason. Just beat Oklahoma.
Right.
It's a 21-point favorite on the road. Just beat. It's a very simple. Just beat Oklahoma and you're in. But now it's about expanding to 16 teams, right? Or to 14
Right.
teams. And then it's about the format, right? Is it 5 automatic qualifiers plus 11? Is it, do the Big Ten get 4? The SEC get 4? Does this, because look, the Big Ten and SEC basically control the purse strings, right? They are the ones with the big dogs, and they're the ones with these TV contracts. And Gabe, just want to watch football. And I think the thing that frustrates me a little bit is how disingenuous some of the college football media has been around this subject, saying, well, the college football is still the same. Not really. No, it's not. You can still enjoy college football, which I do, which you do, with the understanding that it's not the same sport anymore. The playoff is what it is. I mean, we're here now. I didn't like it. I said for a long time I didn't think we needed to get to 12 teams. But 16 teams, like, the goal is finding a champion. It's not a participation tournament for the SEC and the Big Ten. It's finding a champion. The champion, unfortunately, comes from like 4 teams, 4 or 5 schools. That's it now. Look, am I going to watch the playoff games? Absolutely. I'll watch all of football. But for all this like hubbub of this conference, the end result is the same 6 teams have a chance to win. They're primarily from the two major conferences, and it's just a lot of bickering back and forth and complaining and whining about the stuff. I mean, the BCS looks like it was super easy, and and we should go back to that based on how we're complaining about this now. It's just off-putting to me as someone who loves the sport. But the thing that's changed so much, for me, about the sport, that we're going to see even more as more teams make the playoff. It depends, obviously, where you are in your fandom, who you root for. So Oregon, they announced a lot of the college football game times for the big games of the season. They had the draft, and for those who don't know, like, so ESPN has the SEC, right? The Big Ten is split up with the big noon kickoff game is at noon, right? A Big Ten team.
Yep.
Then CBS has the 3:30 Big Ten game of the week, and then NBC has a 7:30 game every week. That's how it is. So they have a draft, right? So like Fox, I think, got the first 2 picks. They take Ohio State, Michigan, and they took Ohio State, Texas. Then I believe the next pick was CBS, NBC, I should say, who took the Oregon Penn State game, made it a whiteout game. So we're finding the results now of sort of the draft. I would love to be in that room, by the way. That would be so cool to be in that room. Have you been in that room before?
No, no. I've been.
Oh, okay.
I know people who get to be in that room. I've never
Yeah.
been in that room.
Well, I think the Bear, who I do my Bear bets with, like, sort of is room adjacent. Like, I think in the past he might have been in the room for that type of thing, which would be so much fun to be in the games drafted by networks class. And of course, the Big 12 is sort of split up between ESPN and Fox, so there's a little bit of jockeying there, but their games are obviously, without Colorado now, without Shadur there, that's a little bit different in Colorado. But nonetheless, they're announcing these game times. And Oregon goes to Penn State September 27th. Great game. Penn State will be 1 at the start of the season, maybe. Oregon will be 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, that game would mean one or the other would be out of the playoff immediately.
Right.
Now, you can argue, the loser, I should say, you can argue that that's not good for the sport, that it knocks a team out, and by September 27th, you're already like, woe is me, my team's not making the playoff. But it also has changed now to where the loser of that game, like, if we lose that game, okay, like, we lost, we'll still be a playoff team. It's an NFL rooting model, right?
Yes.
We're down where the NFL. It's so to argue that the sport has not changed on Saturdays, and maybe from first kickoff to end of the whistle, it's the same sport, but not the way you root for it. Not the way, like, it's not at all. So you're a USC fan. USC in a 14 playoff, no chance they're in the playoff this season, like 0. 12-team playoff, 16-team playoff, you can make a case. I don't know, win 10 games. Like, it changes the way everyone roots for teams. That's why it's different now. And it could be good, could be bad. But I'm kind of over like talking about who gets automatic qualifiers, this and that, who's scheduled tougher. The SEC teams who schedule tougher, quote unquote tougher, because they're in a tougher conference, they recruit and have the money in the facility to play
Yeah,
those schedules, right? Group teams that are SMU that have an easier schedule don't have the money and resources. Alabama does. Like it evens out, Gabe,
yeah, of
because
course.
of those reasons. So to argue that well, Indiana didn't have a tough schedule. Well, last year they just didn't, and they happened to be really good. Well, guess what? This year the schedule's tougher. They're not as good. They won't be a playoff team. Like it just it wins should matter. Like I get schedule matters. I understand. Alabama had a tougher schedule than Indiana, but Alabama also lost games they should have won. It's that simple. Indiana won the games they should have won, and in the end, Alabama wasn't winning the championship. Sorry they didn't get in. I don't know what to tell you. Do better this season. So that's my take on it. I love the sport, but just show me the baby, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that. I will just to poke you a little bit though. Isn't isn't the beauty of combat sports that you fight your weight class? Nobody's ever been like, okay, but Floyd Mayweather should fight Mike Tyson. Like we all like understand like that's not the right
Yeah,
fight.
yeah,
That doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't prove anything in either direction. The issue with college football is your heavyweights are now fighting your lightweights and we're pretending that that's a fair fight.
yes,
And so the question becomes, because you are a heavyweight, do you automatically get the better seed, or do you have to fight it out, however it takes? Like,
right,
isn't that where we are? Like, who should get an automatic one? Who should get the week off? Like, that's
right.
where the debates seem to be centered. Not to make you talk about the birthing
No,
of the baby
but
here, but that's what we're talking about.
right, but this is why the expanded playoff to me wasn't needed because if it's heavyweight versus heavyweight, you're going to get them in the 14 playoff, right? You're just going to get the
Yeah.
four best teams, and like there'll be SEC and Big Ten teams, and so be it. The four best teams are in. Now with 12, you get in the nuances of okay, well SMU had a great season. Well, they won. They finished second in the ACC, or Indiana had a great season. How do we look at them versus Alabama? To me, you just can't reward Alabama every year for playing in the better conference because again, they have the resources to beat
That's right.
Oklahoma and they didn't. So that's
I'm
where the
with you.
nuance of this is in. I get it. And maybe the solution is it just goes to Big Ten SEC have their own playoff, everyone else has another playoff, and just call it a day. And that's maybe what we're going to anyways, Gabe. Is that sort of model? But um, I thought last year was totally fine. Indiana won the games they had to. Alabama did not, despite playing a better schedule. Alabama has better players than Indiana does. And every year it'll be different. Like this year, maybe we just get 12 Big Ten SEC teams in because that's the way. Well, I mean, it's impossible with that, but 12 of 16, let's say expand 16, you might end up with 12 of those teams in a given year because that's the way it works out. Um, but again, we're not getting a different champion. And they did announce, by the way, they're going to seed straight now, 1 through
Yeah.
12. So,
That
which of
that's
course, the year after Oregon gets screwed by that, we
yeah.
make the change. So that was not. Thank you guys. We probably would have lost to Ohio State anyways in the championship game, but it would have been much different if we had played Boise State first, and then Notre Dame, and then Ohio State.
Yeah. You are an Oregon guy. They're going to be super
Yeah,
relevant this year. You mentioned their Penn State game. I'm going to mention the USC game. Uh, because I do think there are teams with the pedigree better than Indiana's, right? USC is one of those teams that gets, that people round up for USC because of the
yeah,
history, the way that they probably don't for Indiana. The novelty helps Indiana, but nobody's like, yeah, they're great.
correct.
Um, if you look at USC, happens to be, I mean, obviously I pay a little closer attention to them than most, happens to have one of those schedules that while I don't think they are an actual title contender this year, because I don't think the quarterback is where they need to be, they actually have a schedule that really could help them. Because if they
Yeah.
beat Michigan at home, they can afford to go up to Oregon and lose as long as they beat Notre Dame. We'll get back to that in a second. Like, they could be one of those teams. It's like their one loss is very excused. They get a chance to be in the playoff, even though they aren't as good as some other teams. And they're sort of in Indiana because they got USC on their jersey.
Yeah, the thing with USC is I don't know like who are their game wreckers, who are their game changers right now on the roster. I think they just don't have enough of those guys to win
I
some of
agree.
these games, which is a pro, which I know they're trying to fix now with all the recruiting. But that's my thing with USC, and they've gotten worse under Lincoln Riley now for 3 straight years, which is kind of remarkable. I never thought we'd be there with USC. I didn't tweet this because I just don't want to deal with it, but I'm sure you saw the cover of NCAA 26. You see the cover of NCAA 26 by any chance?
Yeah, I know it got some attention. Where are you going
Yeah.
with this?
So, well, Reggie Bush was on the cover,
Yeah,
which is great. He last played for USC 20 years ago,
yeah.
and my USC take has been for a long time is they are stuck way in the past. I talk way too much about the past, and then look, lo and behold, guess who showed up on the cover of of uh, of NCAA football, a player from 20 years ago. That's USC's problem. They have not been able to find anything in 20 years to hold their hat on other than Reggie Bush, who was incredible, best college player I've ever seen. I played against him. He dominated us. Um, but that's my USC take was proven right there. Like they're stuck in the past still. Tim Tebow was
Should
on the
we just
cover.
pretending that Caleb Williams didn't happen 2 years ago?
Uh, why is he not on the cover with
Well, look. I don't want to talk out of my what here, but like Reggie Bush being on the cover is a bigger conversation than just USC being stuck in the
sure,
past.
but
Reggie Bush represents a lot of things that have changed in college football.
what? Tim Tebow's on the cover, by the way. Your guy, Tim
Yeah,
Tebow.
love Tim
But
Tebow.
so was DJ Lagway. So like their current quarterback's on the cover too. Denard Robinson was on the cover, and so was I believe it's Bryce Underwood, right? It's the young kid at Michigan. Um, look, I understand the point about Reggie Bush and you know what college football is now and how it represents the
And what
unfortunate
was
part of.
taken from Reggie Bush
I
that
agree.
is now given to randos.
I agree, but again, there wasn't like they also did a thing with like traditions where they put like in the background they had like different traditions. There was no horse, no traveler there, no Lincoln Riley. Just saying, it's a USC
All
just
right,
stuck
we
in the
don't need to
past as
we
always.
don't need to beat up on you. Can I ask you this? Here's where I wanted to go with it. I
Yes,
know USC and their schedule, and I see a path. Give me a few other teams like right now in
yeah,
May that you're like,
yeah.
I don't know how great they are, but man, the path looks nice. Got any of those?
Well, I think that the path for like make like overs or just making it to basically the playoffs.
Like, I know it's hard to throw this at you without prep, but
Yeah,
like on Indiana for this year, someone who you're like, if you
yeah.
look at it, they're a little better than we think, and
Te-
they have very
I,
few tough games.
I think Texas Tech is going to be in that mold
Okay, that's cool.
where their preseason schedule is not preseason out of conference is pretty easy,
Yep.
and then in conference they do have some of the heavyweights, but they Arizona State I just don't know how good they're going to be this year. Last year was a great run for
Right.
them, but Texas
Yes, it
Tech
was.
feels like one of those teams that could come out of nowhere. The problem is like the ACC, they're just like isn't. I mean, I think it's gonna be Clemson, Miami again. I don't see there being like a team just like, oh wow, here's this team. And we're really, the Big 12 has been that conference for years. The Big Ten, you're basically looking at I will say that the Big Ten is interesting. If this kid Bryce Underwood is really legit for Michigan, they're live, I think, to win the Big Ten. But he's a true freshman. I mean, they're not. How often is that? You're winning
Yeah.
conferences with true freshman quarterback. It's just not happening in 2025. The Big Ten is going to be Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State. In the SEC, Florida's interesting if Lagway is healthy and good. Florida's the one interesting team out there because I think Lagway is a special quarterback, and he has a chance to be that guy if healthy. The other one that I will give you, I think I don't know how good the team is, but John Mateer I believe went to Oklahoma. I want to make sure I have this right because I'm just looking at his roster. It's not updated, but I want to make sure I have this right. He is a quarterback from Washington State.
Hmm.
He did he and for those who might not have paid attention to Pac-12 football last season, he completed 3,100 yards, 65% completion percentage, and ran for nearly 1,000 yards as well, 826 yards. Dude is good. He is really good. And if Oklahoma can play defense with Brett Venables, Mateer's the real deal. Like they're a team that get tough conference, tough schedule, but they're a team that I think can overachieve if John Mateer is as good as I think he is.
I like that one. I'll tell you why. anyone who's about my level of college football insight, which is some, but nowhere near yours, should be able to piece together, above average Pac 12 quarterback transfers to a powerhouse, suddenly becomes an amazing like guy that we all hear about in the Heisman race, or maybe a top 10 pick in the NFL. There have been a few of those lately.
Yeah.
Like, that's become a little bit of a pipeline. Now, granted, the
Yeah.
Pac-12 isn't the same as it was for the last few years, but that like Washington State, Arizona State, Utah, like these little, the non-USC Oregon schools of the Pac-12 that then send a guy into the South somewhere, that guy becomes a superstar. Ole Miss has one of those guys. There are these guys that kind of,
Obviously Miami did.
well, I'm thinking, of course, of Jaden
Yeah.
and Cam Ward, but there have been a few others.
Yeah. No, I think this is one of those where it's like, yeah, John Mateer is a name to
All
focus
right.
on. All right, Gabe. I want to give you. I got 10 minutes. I got to pick the kids up from school.
Yeah.
All right, let's go New York Knicks.
Oh,
Okay,
great. Knicks and
New
6.
York Knicks. Impossible. They win Game 5. Indiana starters played atrocious,
Uh-huh.
and they're going to Indiana for Game 6 now. I think Indiana wins, but how has it been as a Knicks fan? This is probably the most fun you guys have had in years, and I like watching this team play because I like the way they play. The foul stuff with Brunson and SGA kind of annoys me, but that is what it is. But I like watching them play. How's it been as a Knicks fan?
I think that it reminds me of the Knicks teams of the 90s in a few ways that I love. So I grew up loving like the underappreciated, outwork you, not a star anywhere but in this city kind of guys,
Yeah.
right? So I grew up on, Starks and Mason and Charles Smith and like those types of guys. Josh Hart is one of those guys,
Oh
clearly.
yeah.
Mitch is one of those guys. OG Anunoby is seemingly one of those guys. Jalen is not. Cat is not, although he has had some moments where he's won the people over. But I love rooting for a team where I can point. This is going to sound corny, but I know you're going to relate. I love rooting for a team where I can point to a player and say, that's how you should play.
Oh yeah.
And I point at Josh Hart to my son, who's 7, who's, fine at basketball. He's pretty good, actually, but he's not going to go into the NBA. But I can say, play exactly like that guy plays, and you will always make someone's team.
Yeah. And
So
that's
I
what
like that.
I tell my son the same thing. Rebound and pass the ball. I want to shoot the ball. I'm like, you can, but like that's the way you make everyone better, and coaches see that. Um, it's been a wild postseason. I mean, Indiana's won multiple games in the last second. The Knicks have won 3 games where they've been trailing by 20 points, which again, I just don't even know how that's possible.
No idea.
But Game 6 is upcoming. Um, I think this is a must win for the Pacers.
Oh my God, they can't
If
go
they
back
don't
to the
win,
Garden.
if they don't win Game 6,
No, it's over.
they're not winning Game 7 in the Garden.
No.
The Garden, by the way, I have been the privilege of watching playoff hockey there in 2014 when I saw with the Giants. The Rangers went to the postseason, went to the Cup that year. Unfortunately, they lost to the Kings that year. Alec Martinez had that double overtime game-winning goal. I was in the building for the Eastern Conference clincher against the Flyers. MSG is like the best. It is a great place to watch sports. And Game 7 is going to be freaking wild if they get back there. I know everyone's focused on the celebrities, and sure, they've shown out. But dude, the fans there are passionate. They're into it. And if Indiana does not win Game 6, they're not winning Game 7.
No chance in hell. Obviously, they're going to be favored tomorrow. I will say this. For all the modern innovations, I go out to Intuit Dome here. Awesome
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. My kids love it. The score, everything about it is really actually very cool. The acoustics are not the same as a place like MSG. And I don't know what it's like on the court for the players. I can't pretend to know what they feel and hear. But dude, it's just a different experience to be in Madison Square Garden. It is louder. It feels
Yeah.
more cramped. Like
Yeah.
it just feels grimy in a way that helps a
Well,
fan
it
base.
is. It's like you go outside, it's like New York City. It's not the like I know New York City, there's parts of it that are more glitz and glamour, but not that part of New York City. It's Midtown. Like
Yeah.
it's not like like you walk out and you go to the subway, you see a giant rat. Just like
Well,
hanging out
dude,
right.
so this is my bias growing up on the East Coast. I think there's something to be said for like freezing your ass off on your way in, and like you finally get in and you get to like take that giant jacket off and just like scream your head off, and like the feeling of being in that hot place, knowing you're going back out there to just get the wind
Yeah.
right up your face, like it makes a difference. Here you go to a game, my kids go to a game and it's like it's nicer outside than it is inside, you know? Like
Oh, that's certainly true in Los Angeles. Yeah, that's certainly fair. I mean, LA is, yeah, it's a different vibe than New York, obviously. Um, so do you think they win? Do you think they win Game 6?
I think the Pacers probably win. Here's a take for it.
Yeah,
You ready? Did you see that
yeah.
clip of McAfee trolling everyone, expertly
N-
trolling everyone?
No, what do you do?
He got a mic. I don't know how he got a mic, but he has a mic. He's speaking to all the Pacers fans in pregame.
Oh, I saw that he claimed he like didn't know that was happening.
Oh, okay, whatever. So he calls out, in a perfect
Yeah,
WWE way,
great
he
at that.
calls
Yeah,
out Ben Stiller and Spike Lee and Timothy Chalamet, and he puts a little extra on each, like basically just boo the hell out of these guys.
yeah,
And the fans do it. Here's my thing. And I got no issue with the way Pat does that. That's a performance. He's good at that kind of performance.
yeah. He's great
That
at it.
doesn't work in like a major city. No one, there isn't a
Oh
person
no.
in New York who a whole arena knows. Like Mike Francesa could walk out to the middle of Madison Square Garden and half the people would be like, "Who's this guy?" It's only in
Yeah,
a place like that, Indianapolis, where a guy
yeah.
like that can be known to everyone, doing an act like that is
Oh,
embraced.
oh yeah. I would imagine that people sitting even around the celebrities in New York City don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the Midwest thing for you, right? Like that's the difference between a Midwest town and a New York City.
And I'm saying I think that is in many ways an advantage they have. It feels like the way it is to go to a great college town to watch a game. You can unite your fans better. It's like all these people wearing the exact same shirt. You get like 99% uniformity
Yeah,
in these towns. Like I'm not making fun of them. I'm not, this isn't a big city guy
yeah.
trying. It's awesome.
You can't do that in New York City and
You
LA.
can't. It doesn't
The
work.
Lakers have tried over the years, it never works.
It doesn't work.
And then the Lakers fans just stop. They stop doing it. The funny thing about it is like the OKC. There's one guy who never does it. Like that's a big thing now. He's the
Right.
guy that doesn't wear the shirt that he's supposed to wear. No, you can't do the wear the team colored shirt thing in big cities.
So I think it's goofy to say. I actually think it will make a difference in Game 6. Like that, I don't. I think those people know we don't get to the finals if we don't win tonight,
Yeah,
and I think it will be crazy. And I think Halliburton has proven he's as clutch as anyone, and I'm scared that they will
yeah.
win, but I'm holding out hope.
My my basketball take will end with this. I think we Halliburton. It's more about Halliburton. The We crown him as the guy that I don't think he is yet, despite his good games. I mean, he last night, Gabe, he had 8 points in a closeout game.
Yep.
He had two at halftime. He has these games where like SGA played poorly last series in game 3 and had like 25 points still.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that Halliburton and SGA are the same, that they're not. But Halliburton has these games where doesn't he just is not on the stat sheet. You don't even know he exists. He had 7 shot attempts last night
Yep.
in a closeout situation. He had 2 games last series where he scored 4 points and 11 points. He had a game against the Cavs, 4 points, 0 rebounds, 5 assists. Last night, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. The game before, 32, 12, and 15. Like we know we can do that. To me, there's just like not that consistency yet where you don't see that, I think, with the guys we consider to be those super. No, have there been moments where he's been absolutely out of this world? Yes. But you can't have 8 points in a closeout game and claim you're one of these guys that, I mean, it's why he was voted overrated, I think, because he has games like this where you just don't see that with other players who we talk about in that same caliber as him.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of putting it, and it might be also why people don't take him seriously until they have to. And then they do, and his life is hell because maybe you can, contain him if you try. But for some reason, people fool themselves into thinking he won't do it to them tonight. And most often he does. Like there are players in the NFL like that.
Right. Right. Which is why, I wrote an article for Fox Sports. It'll be out soon about my best bets for this game. I like Pacers first quarter, and I like Halliburton over rebounds and assists because when he typically, again, the zigzag theory, right? Bad game, good game. But I can't do over points because he just might not shoot the ball a lot. I don't know. He just he can be a high volume guy or not be a high volume guy. You can't when Anthony Edwards, for example, played poorly, I'd be like, yeah, next game he's gonna shoot the ball 30 times. He's just gonna shoot the ball a bunch. SGA plays bad. Jokic can't make a shot one game. He'll shoot the ball 25 times. I don't know if Halliburton's gonna shoot the ball a bunch in the next game. And so that I think is the thing that, look, again, incredibly clutch, big shots, big moments this year. Those are absolutely true. But I still think there's that, and that's why I think OKC I think they win the next series 4-1. I think they sweep the Knicks and they probably beat the Pacers 4-1. I think they're just a lot better than Indiana. And I think that's a big problem. If Halliburton's going to have one or two of those games in the series, there's just no way they're going to win.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you just said. Can I ask you one quickie on the way out?
Yes.
You're a professional athlete. You've had stretches of your career where you were pretty solidly a starter.
Yeah.
Other stretches where you kind of had to, earn your spot, or you were the first guy up if somebody went down, and then other stretches where you were clearly not starting and coaches probably didn't want to see you on the field.
Yeah.
From that perspective, as we think about Josh Hart and these the controversies we've tried to create about who starts and who doesn't, do you think a guy like Josh Hart actually cares at all about being a starter?
Yes.
You do.
I think he cares about. I think he cares about being a starter. I don't know if he cares about it in this instance where it feels like it's like 1 or 2 game situation. I think it's 2 games he hasn't started now, right? But I'm looking at his, he still played 34 minutes last time. Right. 30 game before that. I mean, it's more just a status thing, I think, right? You get paid more as a starter. You get looked at differently if you're a starter, even if you have the same minutes as you would as a starter. But look, Josh Hart, very clearly a team guy. He said it doesn't bother him. He said he suggested it. I think I heard him say, or someone say that. I think there's part of him that's like, look, I'll do whatever it takes to win, because winning a championship changes lives and you want to win a championship. But I don't think he wants to be a backup, even though he's playing the same amount of minutes. It's just a pride thing. And Robinson's been fine. I mean, he had 6 and 6 last game. I don't even know if that makes much big of a difference. I think defensively, I think defensively, obviously, India doesn't really have bigs per se that go inside, but it does limit Halliburton's ability to drive as deep, I think, as he wants to in the paint. And if you get in Turner's face a little bit, you sort of derail some of his three-point shot attempts. But Robinson's had he's had 6 points in 4 straight games now. His number, by the way, is 5.5 for game 6. So I think a little bit of heart inside. Brian doesn't like it, but he does it because it's better for the team and he wants to win a championship. But I think if you told him next season you weren't going to start, he'd have a problem with it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear from your perspective.
Yeah.
Is there anything we missed?
All right. There is not. My kids are due to be picked up in 5 minutes, and I live 7 minutes away. So
you better go.
We will end with this. Good seeing you, buddy. Good seeing you last week. We'll be back next week, guys. Hopefully Matt survives Vegas. I'll talk to you guys then. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.